start recording. Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Asensio, the chair of the Housing Committee. This is the Bronx Community Board 7, Housing, Land Use, and Economic Development Committee. And the committee agenda is as follows. Jade, if you can share that for me for a second. We'll have introductions. We'll review the previous minutes. We'll have a quick chat about the Queensbridge Armory and Fordham Landing. These projects will probably keep on for just to keep tracking them for a while. And Sandra will provide some ERAP updates. And then we'll have a presentation from the project renewal on the Bedford Green Housing Phase 2. We have updated the agenda that was previously sent with the link to the presentation for anyone that wants to access the link, and the presentation is available for that. Then moving on, I'm going to start with the committee meetings, with the committee guidelines. So on September 2nd, 2021, Governor Kathy Hochul signed into law Chapter 417 of the laws of 2021, which authorizes the community board to run this meeting remotely, and minutes will be taken for record keeping. The minutes will appear on our website within days and can be requested from the Bronx CB7 staff at any time. If you're calling into the meeting on the conference, controls were joining from landline or cell by calling dial-up number. The controls are as follows. To hear all available commands, enter ** on your phone, *6 to mute or unmute yourself, *9 to virtually raise your hand. CB7 has adopted a code of conduct, which reads as follows. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board executive committee or any other assigned committee for a ban. The amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committees of the participation in the event of repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities shall be summoned. Everyone besides the speaker presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, I will inquire if committee members have questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question by pressing the raise hand button on your screen, Zoom, or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions or make a brief statement on the item after each presentation and after the committee has had an opportunity to ask clarifying questions. By pressing that raise hand button on your screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair of the committee will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair in new business or addressed at the new meeting, granted there is time and committee agrees on the topic. Following the question, discussion, and public comment portion, the committee will begin the discussion after each presentation item and will conclude with the decision to vote on a recommendation. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. If there's any questions related to meeting software or to our process, please use the chat function or raise hand function now or contact the district manager. So moving on with the agenda, I guess can we take attendance? Jay, if you could share the attendance.
Yes, give me 1 second.
Okay, Eric Asensio, I'm present. Myrna Calderon,
Brenda Calderon is present.
yes. There's an E missing on the last name, Jay.
Yeah, they
And-
misspelled my name. No, it's Calderon.
Oh, I see it now. Thank you. I'm fixing it.
All right, thank you.
Calderon.
Sandra Erickson,
Sandra Erickson is present.
Edgar Ramos, Barbara Stranser,
Barbara Stronzer is present.
Mabubo Jewel, Helene Reed. Okay, we have quorum and we can proceed with the meeting. As have the committee had a chance to review the previous minutes from June?
Yes, I have. I make a motion to approve the minutes as presented from June of
I second
2022.
it.
Thank you. Anyone opposed? Or comments from the committee? We'll consider the minutes approved. So a follow-up from the previous months, Kingsbridge Armory and the Fordham Landing. I think we have a person, a member from Councilwoman Sanchez, that both of these fall under her district. Maybe I don't know if they have any updates for us on these two projects.
Hi, everyone. So nice to see all of you here this evening and welcome back after the summer recess. For those who don't know me, my name is Sam. I am Chief of Staff for Council Member Pierina Sanchez, along with her Budget Director. So very quick updates. There will be, formal press announcements to come and exciting things around the Armory. Our member did secure $5 million for the remediation of the Kingsbridge Armory, as many of you I'm sure know right now. What that means is there is lead and asbestos. It's a very old building. It's a landmark. And so in an effort to make it ready for community engagement, for people to be able to go and take a tour and see what the drill hall looks like and help to envision all the possibilities, that $5 million is going to help with the remediation so we can start some community engagement process. Congressman Espaillat, along with Councilmember Pierina Sanchez, did take the Secretary of Labor on a tour on Friday, along with Speaker Adrian Adams and several of our elected official partners. And so this is a priority for our council member. And I know many of you have been through several iterations of this before, and it is frustrating to go back to the drawing board, but I think we have all the right partners in place. And so there will be more formal announcements to come in the coming weeks. So just stay tuned, check your emails, and we will be back at the community board next month to give more updates as well. So there will be a community envisioning process, and the previous community agreements that were established, we consider the floor, not the ceiling. So we're nowhere to go but up. So very excited to get this started, not started, but to revive this process and have more updates to come in the weeks to come. And I see a hand, Guillermo. Good to see you again.
Yes, good evening. Right. One quick question. I know you're trying to do outreach to the community, but the Northwest Bronx Community Coalition sent out a request from the community, but they only had it with a phone scam. You had to put your phone up against the thing. And there are a lot of community members like myself who don't do things like that. And we should have some kind of links and very, very easy access to information, not whatever new high-fangled communication device that's put out is not fair to the community. Not everybody has a computer at home, and not everybody, knows how to operate a cell phone with a scanner. So if you could
Absolutely
keep that in
agree.
mind, that would be appreciative. Thank you.
Can
Absolutely.
you hear me? Because I'm in here now. Helene, can y'all hear me?
Yes, Helene,
Okay, I'm sorry. I had problems with my internet.
no worries.
Because I wanted to put in
So sorry.
request a PAL put into the armory.
Okay, definitely. And what I will say, Guillermo, is the Northwest Bronx Community Engagement is independent from the council members' community process. Northwest Bronx is independently doing community engagement, as everyone is entitled to. There will be a centralized process that will be announced in the coming weeks. So that way, Guillermo, you can put forth that there should be a PAL there. So absolutely hear you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sam, for that. Any updates on the Fordham Landing?
So Fordham Landing is a $3.5 billion project that is coming to our district and is essentially kind of going to be a new neighborhood. And so that is the next biggest priority for the council member. That is in the very infantile stages because there's some rezoning that needs to happen on the northern part. There's a lot that's going to go into Fordham Landing. So I don't want to give you I'm going to wait to give you more updates until next month. So more to come.
Great, thank you. Anyone from the committee have any questions for Sam?
I do.
Oh, okay, go ahead first.
Okay, all right. No, I think, first of all, thank you, thank the councilwoman's office for all they did Saturday for the children of DeVoe Park area. They made a very generous donation to the children of book bags, supplies, and the kids were thrilled, and it was a wonderful afternoon. So thank Yerina for us. And I know, Samantha, you did the yeoman's work here, and we thank you both. So having said that, I think the councilwoman understands that, 'cause I wear two hats. I'm a committee member, but I also the board president of Fordham Hill. And we're involved with the community in DeVoe Park. So the conversations when we really start to really understand what's really going to happen at Fordham Landing, we really want to be part of that conversation. And I know that she understands that. So just, remember us. Thank you. That's it.
Absolutely.
Hi, this is Sandra
Sandra, go ahead.
Erickson. Thank you so much for your updates. I've been on the board for about 23 years, and I cannot tell you how excited we are at the prospect of the Kingsbridge Armory and Fordham Landing. I mean, we've been touring that area for years, and it's just very exciting to have the council member on board with and I want to ask the Congress member Espaillat. I know he's very excited about both of these projects and bringing a lot of jobs to the neighborhood and new housing and such. So that will be a collaborative effort, at least with the elected officials, or each one will be doing something separate, or how will that work?
That is a great question, and I'm really glad you brought this up. So yes, we are very grateful that the congressman is so excited about this and is bringing people like the Secretary of Labor to our district to see all the possibilities that are there.
Impressive. Yeah.
Yes, very impressive. And I do also want to say, and be clear that there's going to be a centralized process through BOEDC. Sorry, not BOEDC, New York City EDC, the Economic Development Corporation, because New York City owns the land. And so, the congressman's great, and we really appreciate his partnership, and he's going to help us, I hope, get some big bucks to invest into the armory, because like I said, this is going to be a very expensive project, but it is a centralized process and where our office should be the main point of contact, our office or EDC, New York City EDC. There will be an announcement to come in the coming weeks about what that centralized process looks like. What does that visioning timeline and community engagement process look like? So all of that will be announced in the coming weeks. And I know people are very eager and very excited. And so my member is coming back from parental leave soon, and all of this will be back on. I mean, it's still on the forefront and still a priority, but you will be able to hear directly from her very soon as well. I hope that
Thank you
answers
so
the question,
much.
Sandra.
It does. Thank you.
Great.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Give our best to the councilwoman and congratulations to her.
Yes, of course. Chair, can I just ask, since we've had one of our members has joined us, can we have the attendance record reflect that?
Yes. Jay,
Yeah.
can you please mark Helene present?
Yes, I did.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And did we officially approve we did officially approve the minutes? I know
Yes.
there was a first and a second. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, so moving on with the agenda, Sandra, you want to give us a small?
I know a lot of people are curious about the ERAP. I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. Just a quick update. There have been about 361,000 applications filed. Roughly 192,000 have been paid out. 36,000 have been approved pending property owner notification. The program is virtually out of money. 2.85 billion has been paid out or allocated. The entire budget for the program was a little more than 3 billion when factoring in federal and state funds that have been allocated. What should happen next? The state has asked for another 1 billion in federal funding. It doesn't seem likely that they will get it. We're hopeful. The remaining 140,000 pending applications will likely cost about 1.75 billion. The vast majority of these pending applications may not get paid. The application portal can legally remain open until 2025. Any tenant who applies can stay in eviction while the application is processed. At this point, nobody in the state government is talking about how to cover 1.75 billion in rent arrears from ERAP applications. They're also not really talking about closing the portal or rejecting the applications. So eviction protections remain in place for those tenants that have applied. So how does this end? Well, we're not sure. Perhaps after the election in November, there's likely going to be some kind of resolution to this, whether this is more funding for ERAP or a shutdown of the program or something in between. But I did want to add that there are a lot of tenants that haven't been able to get ERAP or have gotten the full 15 months of ERAP are going on for what they call a one-shot deal or working through Bronx Works or home base and are getting some relief there. But I would say in my experience, the vast majority of tenants are paying rent, are back to work if they weren't working. So there is help out there. So I would encourage people to go to your manager and see if they have any resources for you if you are running into problems with rent arrears. And as always, anyone, please contact me if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandra. Any members of the committee or the public have a question for Sandra, specifically on ERAP? Okay, so hearing none, we're gonna move on with the agenda to the new items, which will be the presentation from project renewal.
Thank you, Eric.
Matt or Joseph, who's gonna present from you on your end?
I will, thanks. And should I share my screen or is someone from the office gonna share the presentation?
You can share your screen.
Okay, great. Let me just.
So some background, this is a phase 2 of the project that already exists on Preston Avenue, right?
That's
Uh,
correct.
So this is the phase 2, which is gonna be facing Jerome Avenue. And you can take it away from there, I guess.
Thank you. And sorry, forgive me, I'm trying to get into presentation mode, so the slide is a little bigger. Let's see, but while I do that, thanks Eric for having us, and thanks to the Housing Committee for giving us some time today. I appreciate it. So I'm Joseph Frewer. I'm the Real Estate Development Director for Project Renewal. I'm joined by Katie Bauer. I want to make sure I get titles right. Katie is the Chief Housing and Shelter Officer for Project Renewal. And then we also have Melissa O'Brien, who is the Deputy Director of Psychiatry for the organization. So we're here today. As you probably know, this is a non-voting item, but we wanted to give you an update on our 2-phase supportive housing development, Bedford Greenhouse. And I'll take cues from Eric as to whether you'd like to ask questions during the presentation or hold till the end. Just let me know. So I wanted to start with a little bit about Project Renewal. For those of you who aren't familiar, our mission is to end the cycle of homelessness, and we work in the areas of health, homes, and jobs. We've been around since 1967, and this is a permanent housing development. So we've developed about 750 apartments in New York City of permanent housing, and we have 246 in our pipeline right now. We operate 16 sites citywide. We serve 16,000 tenants every year. And we also serve single adults at a variety of programs, including shelters across the city. There's a lot of text here, but this lays out our vision for the Bedford Greenhouse project. And we shared this presentation with Jade and Eric and the board staff. So I'm sure they'd be able to distribute it for anyone who'd like to review later. But I'd say the Bedford Greenhouse project is very sustainability and community oriented. It's LEED certified. So that means the entire project is built to be sustainable, to have a low energy impact, and to not create unnecessary waste during construction or pollution. And the goal of this is to have long-term stability for our residents. So, in that vein, our phase 1 building on Creston Avenue, which we just opened in January of this year, has a rooftop greenhouse and aquaponics urban farming system, which I didn't know what that was until I got involved in this project. It's basically, there's fish on the roof that our residents can actually take care of, interact with, as well as horticultural therapy. So we have gardening. We have opportunities for residents to get outside, enjoy the outdoors. And then, our buildings are also meant to be comfortable homes for our residents. We have, the amenities that you expect in any new building. We have bike storage, laundry, recreation space. We have landscaped rear yards. And for those of you who live nearby, you might have seen the playground that's in front of our phase 1 development on Creston Avenue. This is a architectural rendering. And so this is looking south, actually from Jerome Avenue. And this building here in the foreground is our phase 2 development, which we hope to start construction on next month in October. And then if you look in the background, you can see the back of our phase 1 development that we opened earlier this year at 2865 Creston Avenue. So again, this is already here in the background, and then this is what we plan to build over the next couple of years here in the foreground. This is a
I'm sorry, what
breakdown.
is the address of the building in the foreground?
It's 2880 Jerome Avenue.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, no problem. And then a little bit about both of the buildings. Here on the left, we have some information on phase 1. Again, we have the rooftop greenhouse. We have social services offices in the building on the 3rd floor. We have 118 apartments, including a live-in superintendent, with 71 supportive units. So those supportive units are for formerly homeless individuals and families. They are permanent housing. Everyone has a 1 or 2 year lease. The only thing that makes it look different than any apartment building is that we have the social services offices, in the building so that people can get support, job training, any other services they need. Our phase 2 building on the right here at 2880 Jerome is 17 stories, or will be 17 stories. We will have an approximately 2,400 square foot medical clinic facing the street, and we'll talk about that in more detail on a later slide. We'll have a library for residents of the building. We're going to have a lot of kids in the building, so we'll also talk about that on a slide later in the presentation. Fitness center, backyard, and we have 116 apartments in this building, including 70 that are supportive, and then 46 that are community units. And so those are the units that actually are distributed through the HPD lottery system for low-income residents. And I think half of those are set aside for members or residents of the community board or the community district that you all belong to. So phase 1, this is information I've already covered, but on the right is a picture. It looks a little nicer now. This picture was taken before all the landscaping was finished in front here, but that's 2865 Creston. On the left here, that's one of our residents that lives in the building with one of our social services staff in our office space. And then I'd like to kick it off to Katie Bauer to talk a little bit more about our social services.
Sure. Thank you, Joseph, and really thank you for having us tonight. I just want to spend a few minutes talking about our social service team. So we pride ourselves on having large multidisciplinary teams that can really meet the clients where they're at and make sure that they are successful in our permanent housing programs. So in addition to what you see on the slide here, where every client is assigned to a case manager, we also have 4 peer counselors there to support our clients additionally. We have a CASAC on site to work with our clients around any substance use issues. We also have a psychiatrist and a nurse on site as well. In addition to the staff on site, we link our clients to local community resources, and we also have our mobile med van, which comes and visits our clients and provides medical services for them, for those who are interested. And then what Project Renewal really prides itself on is our occupational therapy program. So our OT is working in tandem with our horticulturalists on the roof. So we're able now to take things that we're growing on the roof, bring them down to our teaching kitchen, which is on the 3rd floor where the social service staff area are, and really, allow tenants to learn how to use the fresh produce and fresh herbs that we're growing, which has been a really exciting opportunity for a lot of our clients. And then on the next slide, I'm just going to talk quickly about some of our amenities in the building. So we obviously mentioned our rooftop greenhouse. It's been a really great experience for both staff and clients. They've all gone up there and tried to grow different things. We've had a large success around, the basics, peppers, tomatoes, basic vegetables and herbs. We have a dryer up on the rooftop now, so they can actually dry some of the vegetables. And then we have open produce hours where clients are able to go up and take what they want from the fridge. We also have the recreation room, which is where the teaching pantry is located. Our OT is running groups there, both for singles and for our families. We have the bike storage on the 1st floor, our laundry room, and the playground out front, which Joseph referenced.
All right, thanks, Katie. So I'd like to just give a little bit of a timeline overview, as my experience is that's always helpful, and these projects go over many years in some cases. This is one of those cases. We've been working on this since before my time at the organization. Project Renewal bought the land for both of these buildings in 2015 and first presented the project plan to Community Board 7 Housing Committee in August of 2015. And we had some back and forth communication with the committee at that time. If you go back and reference the minutes, the committee requested the addition of the playground, which we were really happy we were able to do. That's something that our residents already really love and use. And also requested an increase in the number of family size units in the building, which we were also able to do because we were still in the design phase at that time.
I'm sorry, can you just tell me the date of that meeting in August?
was-
Because we don't meet in August, so just wanted to reference the notes on that.
I'd have to look up the exact date. I did note that it was August 2015. So
Yeah, we don't
If that
meet in
sounds
August,
like
not to
it's
be
off.
picky, but I just want to, I want to find the meeting minutes. So if you can just
Okay.
get that date for us, that'd be great. Thanks.
Sure, I'll make a note to follow up on that.
Okay.
Thanks. And then in September 2016, we met with the committee again, just to give an update on the project. And then our construction of the building at Creston Avenue Phase 1 was between June 2017 and December of last year. So we topped off the building last year in December, and we've been leasing it up from January until now. I think we are almost fully leased up, not quite, maybe just a few more apartments that we need to fill. And then and our timeline for construction of the Phase 2 building on Jerome Avenue is next month, October 2022. And we're projecting to finish by January 2025. Hopefully a little faster than that, but we try to be on the conservative side with these timelines.
How are you finding your cost of materials, labor? Your budget must be a little a little off the charts.
You sound
How are you
familiar
dealing?
with this.
How are you dealing with that part of it?
So that's been really challenging. I mean, as it sounds like, construction costs and labor costs have been skyrocketing, especially over the last year, but just throughout the whole pandemic period. And so we actually, anticipating that we might have an issue with cost, as we got closer to starting, we applied for HHAP. So this is the state's homeless housing and prevention program. It's essentially a grant from the State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. So we applied for that additional funding early this year for a $6 million award. And we won that in, I think it was April that they announced the awards. So that actually made a huge difference because, from January to now, we saw construction costs go up, quite a bit. And so we were able to cover that difference with that award that came in. So yes, the construction budget has gone up, but right now our budget's in good shape. And we're working with the state housing finance agency and also the city HPD to prepare for our construction loan closing next month.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then here's just a little more detail about the Phase 2 building. Again, I know I don't want to take too much time. We've already gone over the units. We have 116 apartments. One thing I didn't mention before is that 55 of the apartments will be set aside for seniors. So not quite half of the apartments. Oh, and I'm sorry, I see a couple raised hands, but I'll defer to Eric or Sandra if we'd like to have questions right now. Or should
I think you could finish up and then we'll jump into questions.
Okay, great. Thanks. We'll have an Article 28 medical clinic that we'll go into a little more detail on, and then the amenities that we've already discussed in this building. The recreation room, fitness center, bike storage, laundry, and a landscaped rear yard. Here's a little more detail on the apartments. So you have here, we go by the number of studios, 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms in the building, 80 studios, 24 1 bedrooms, and 12 2 bedrooms. And then up top here, we break it down by how many are going to be through the HPD lottery system. So these include lottery units for seniors, 32 studios and 9 1 bedrooms, and then, HPD lottery units that are 2 bedrooms. We have 5 of those. And then on the left here, you have our supportive units for our formerly homeless residents. And then these are pictures, obviously not of Phase 2, but these are some apartments in the Phase 1 building on Creston Avenue, and the Phase 2 apartments will look pretty similar to this. All right, Melissa, would you mind discussing this slide about the medical clinic?
Yeah, happy to jump in. Thank you for having us tonight. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about our Article 28 medical clinic that we're going to have on site. And it's going to serve the individuals and families who live in both the Phase 1 building and the Phase 2 building. And this is going to offer care, and it can also offer care to other residents in the neighborhood. And it's regardless of if you're insured or have insurance or don't have insurance or any ability to pay. And our services will include family medicine, so primary care, psychiatry, dental, and then if funding allows, podiatry. We usually take care of like routine primary care visits, routine medical, and routine psychiatric visits, and can dispense primary care medications and psychiatric medications. We do not offer methadone treatment. In terms of like staffing on site, we will definitely have like a nurse, a psychiatric provider, 2 primary care providers, and possibly part-time dental and podiatry, depending on funding, as well as an office manager and front desk staff. In terms of like patient volume, at most of our clinics, 70 to 90% of the patients that are seen in our clinics are residents of the building of which the clinic resides. Also, our clinics, we see maybe an average of 10 to 20 patients per day between psychiatry and primary care. Currently, we are providing care through the medical van at the phase 1 building. For residents, it's about half day each week, and they're seeing about 2 to 4 clients per day or per half day that they are there. We also have a psychiatrist on site who is seeing clients 1 day a week. In terms of funding, it's coming from capital funding, City Council capital award of approximately 1.2 million. Operating funding is from Medicaid and managed care and commercial insurance, as well as federal and grant funding. And then in terms of like security measures, we have 24-hour camera monitoring, 24-hour front desk staff at the phase 2 building. And we will have like a lot of lighting and also crisis intervention training among staff. Back to you, Joseph.
Yeah, thanks, Melissa. And let's see, Katie, I'll actually pass it to you just to talk a little bit more about the library that we'll have on site.
Sure. So our phase 2 will also have a library and learning center. We've received a large donation from a donor to really make this space pop for our kids. What we envision is not just a learning center for our children, but also a learning center for our adults who need support as well. The space is going to be designed to grow with the kids because, as we know, we will be servicing kids with a wide range of ages, and they will grow as they stay with us. Our OTs, our occupational therapists, we will get additional funding for that as part of phase 2, and they will be based in the learning library as well, and really engaging with the children and the families as they enter the space and creating activities that are meaningful for all of them.
Thank you. And just one more slide before we wrap up for questions. So this is an overhead view, and just to describe what you're seeing here, this is the footprint of the phase 1 building on Creston Avenue here on the bottom. You can see the playground in front. This is an apartment here where my cursor is, and then our offices over here where I'm circling. And the 2 buildings are obviously on the same block. And once we're finished with the phase 2 building on Jerome, which you see up here, the 2 buildings will have a connected backyard that'll be landscaped. Residents can go back and forth from one building to the other to take advantage of the social services offices, to take advantage of the fitness room, the rooftop garden, and and anything else that they'd like to access in the space. And so we just wanted to make it clear, once the second building opens, these 2 buildings will act as an integrated development, and residents don't even have to leave to interact with each other and to interact with all of the services staff on site. So this is actually a picture of one of our new residents of our phase 1 building on the right, with one of our staff members on the left. Again, we really appreciate you all taking the time to listen to our presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you have.
Great. Thank you, Joseph. Barbara?
Good evening. I have a question about the 17 stories. Did you have to receive any special exemption from the current zoning to go that high? Because most of our buildings, even the new buildings in the area, I would say all of them are not that high.
We actually did not need to receive an exemption from zoning. I believe the way that the building was able to go that high was that it is one combined zoning lot between the building on Creston Avenue and the building on Jerome Avenue. So, we were able to use the total amount of square footage between the two buildings that came from both of the lots. But the short answer is no, it was as of right. There was no zoning exemption.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you.
Sandra?
Yes, hi. So moving forward, it is a very large development. Who would Community Board 7 contact if we had any concerns or issues, even during construction of this very substantial building? You know, who do we contact?
So I'll answer for the first, or for one part of your question, and then I'll have Katie answer for the second. So during construction, I would be the best point of contact. And so the CB7 office and Eric have my contact information. So, you know, I'll let them guide you on whether communication, you know, should preferably go through them and then to me during construction. But again, I'd be happy to answer questions, if there's any issues that you'd like to raise, I'd be happy to discuss those with you during construction.
Who is the general contractor?
General contractor is Bruno Frestacci Contracting. And so they actually helped us finish the building on Creston Avenue. So they've already been on the site and they're familiar with it.
So they weren't the original GC? They had to
No,
step in
they weren't.
to finish up?
The original GC was Hollister.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was actually, we had a very large hiccup in that job. Hollister went bankrupt, you know, when they were about 70 to 80% finished with construction. Not a scenario that we expected. So that delayed the completion of the building, and we brought the Bruno Frestacci company on to finish the project. And then they also won the contract for the phase 2 building.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And then I was going to have Katie respond to your question about who you might contact after the building is open, if you don't mind. Katie.
Okay.
Joseph, if you don't mind, stop sharing your screen.
Oh, yeah, sure. Let's see.
Sure, and just regarding programmatic questions or outreach, you can reach out to the front desk. I can put the number in the chat, or to our program director who will be over both facilities, both phase 1 and phase 2. But I can put that information in the chat as well.
Yeah, perhaps you can let us know who to contact now with phase 1, and then by the time you finish in a few years, then we'll get the general person to contact. Thank you.
No problem.
Right, and then we have been trying to get that any building in the area that's major like this to come and give us some updates, probably every 6 months or so, to the committee, just so that we know where you guys are at, or when you finish the structure or something, any hiccups then that you might have along the way as well.
Sure. Would Jade be the best point of contact for us to coordinate that with?
Yes.
Okay, sure. We'd be happy to.
Helene?
Oh, hey, ma'am. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes.
Yes. I didn't hear anything about veterans. Is there any slots or any apartments for the veterans?
No, not in either of these developments. And no particular reason. That's just not a population that I think Project Renewal has experience serving specifically. Veterans are of course welcome, and we have a lot of services that they'll benefit from, but we have no set aside units for veterans.
But can veterans apply?
Yes, veterans are definitely welcome to apply.
Would they be a preference, a first choice, or no? Is there?
No.
How would they get treated with the process?
So veterans that meet the income requirements. So if a veteran has below 60% of the area median income, they would be eligible to apply through the HPD Housing Connect system. So the lottery, and then, they would not be given preference through the lottery. The only preference through the lottery that I'm aware of is, half of the lottery units will be set aside for residents of Community Board 7. And then there's a much smaller set aside for those with vision or mobility impairments.
So you said for Community Board 7, explain that to me. You said a lot of slots will be for Community Board 7 members or in the community? Explain that to me, please.
So that you just have to be a resident of the community district. So not on the board or involved with the board, but if a resident of the community district that encompasses the Bronx 7 applies to the HPD lottery system, essentially they have a leg up in the lottery. So if there's 46 units that we're going to distribute through the HPD lottery, means 23 of those units are targeted for residents of Community District 7 in the Bronx. So even though people are applying from all over the city, those who live in the neighborhood essentially, have a higher chance of getting selected for those units.
And have y'all started this lottery process already? Because I know a lot of people, Housing Connect is just hard to get in the lottery process or do anything. We have to find a way to make it more easier, because as you stated earlier, homelessness is on a high. And the way Housing Connect runs is people are still homeless. And I notice all these buildings that's going up is through Housing Connect, through a lottery. And why aren't some of these buildings set aside for people that are in the shelters? Why do people in the shelters or are literally homeless have to go through a lottery process? To me, that doesn't seem fair at all.
No, I think I should have communicated that more clearly. So in this building, 60% of our apartments are for formerly homeless residents. And so depending on the apartment that you're applying for, there's two different processes. So what I was mentioning before was the 40% of the apartments that are set aside for low income residents of the community. So those are the apartments that you would apply for through the HPD lottery system. And then the 60% of units that we call supportive units, those are for formerly homeless residents. And those are for, people who have a history of homelessness, who are in the shelter system, and who have a documented special need. So, a medical
this is the last question, because I'm real curious. How would a homeless person or a person in the shelter, how would they get to one of your buildings? Do they go to their social worker or that where they at in the shelter and they refer to your building and they get right in? Or again, do they have to go through this lottery or whatever? What's the process for a person that's in the shelter system?
Katie, would you mind speaking to that?
Sure, that's a really great question. Clients, when they're in the shelter systems, work with their case manager, and most shelters also have a housing coordinator. So it's through a housing application process that's completed by the staff at the shelter, but in conjunction with the client to make sure it meets their needs.
Okay, I'm sorry, one last question. Because if a person in the shelter, if I was in the shelter and I go to my case manager and I fill out an application and I know your building is up and they send it to your building, I'm asking, how does that work? Do y'all pick that person, or do the shelter system have first preference? How does that go?
Sure. So I'm going to try my best to answer. So it's through a coordinated assessment process. So all of the applications in the city shelter system are organized through the Department of Homeless Services and HRA, the Human Resource Administration. So it's an online application, and then for certain buildings or spots, they may be prioritized based on their homeless history. For others, that's not a requirement. So then the Department of Homeless Services and HRA will send us housing packages based on the types of apartments or units we have available.
And they still have to income qualify, even from the shelter.
Correct.
Yeah, I know that. It's just so sad that they have this thing called Housing Connect. And I think Housing Connect is the worst because you have to go through a lottery. And if I'm homeless, I gotta wait. Even if I qualify, I still have to wait if I'm going through. It's just sad.
But the homeless units and the HPD Connect are two separate.
Right, I know what you're saying. I know a lot of people that's homeless and that try to get in these buildings that we're approving to go up, and they're homeless. They are in shelters and they can't get in. This is what I'm saying. They cannot get in, and they meet the end because majority of them is on public assistance. Okay.
Well, the need is greater than what's available.
Right, because majority of time when you're in the shelter, you on public assistance. I say 8 out of 10. They on services. And when they try to get in these buildings that we are approving to go up, there's a problem because they don't meet the income eligibility requirements because they're getting assistance.
Helene,
Then
I can
that's
talk to
something
you
that we
about
should
that
talk
offline.
to.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
can
that's
talk to
something
you.
that we should
Okay,
talk
I'm
to
just throwing it out there
DHS.
because that's what happens. Okay, you can move on.
Okay, thank you. So Myrna? Myrna, is your hand up?
I think maybe it was from before.
Okay, so we're gonna move on
No,
to.
I'm sorry. I just stepped away for a second. Yeah, I just, it looks really, really nice. Everything looks nice in the service. So I'm hoping it is as nice as you presented. My question is, I know you said that CB7 actually has a copy of the presentation. Is there any way that we can make sure we get one, the committee members? So I could look at.
The link was in the agenda.
Oh, I didn't see it. All right, I'll double check. Okay, that was it. That was my question.
Okay, Sam? From Councilwoman.
Hi,
Sanchez.
yes. I just wanted to say big thank you because the council member is really excited to have this new development here. If any of you have seen phase 1, I had the pleasure to go in person because council members on having a baby. But it is a state-of-the-art building, and the quality of life that I think is going to come out of there is going to be really helpful to the community. It's a beautiful building. The way that the community members can engage, how excited the residents of the building are to engage with the community, to have stable housing, and really to protect that stable housing, right? I think when people have a safe place to go home to, when people have a safe place to call home, it creates a different sense of pride in their neighborhood, in their block, in their community. The woman who you showed, Joseph, in the slide as one of the residents, I had the pleasure of meeting her and her child, and she was saying this is the first time her child can stay in a school, right? And really establish a life. And so I'm very excited to, express on behalf of the council member how excited we are to have this building here. And if anyone has any questions or concerns, you're welcome to one-off me, you're welcome to call me. Most of you have my cell. If not, I'll drop it in the chat. Happy to talk through anything because this is going to be amazing to have this level of affordable housing in our district, the supportive housing, and providing beds for people who are on the street and moving them off of the street into stable housing. So just thank you to the Project Renewal team. It is a beautiful, beautiful building, and I really look forward to watching it come to fruition.
Great, thank you, Sam. That is good to know. Let's move on to Serial.
Yes, good evening. I want to state first off that I am not a member of the community board. I am a resident of that area. I live near that area. And I also want to say that your history of housing is impressive. You do a great service to the people who live in your buildings. And also when you came back for the first phase, you reached out to the community and hired from within the community, because I was the one who was shoveling your snow and cleaning back in the day when I was working under Alex P. I cannot pronounce his last name. So I want to thank you for that. But I have a sad point to point out. While you were doing the construction of phase 1, you installed a huge trailer container that was green, and it was graffiti scarred, which of course led to the Verizon building being tagged next across from you, your good neighbors. And then when you open the building and you remove that container, all the debris and the sand that came out of your back lot that was accumulated in the street to under the container, around the container, was never removed by Project Renewal. It was left there to our sweepers to deal with, and they had to avoid it because of the sand. You had constant sand being pulled out of your hill there where your entrance was. And I was very disappointed with that. And I hope that you will maintain the construction area graffiti-free, the fences and whatever equipment you put on our streets, because the community is aware of what you're doing, and our children have to go to school by that building. But I appreciate what you do for the citizens of New York, and I want to thank you for that. I hope that, I wish you good luck.
Thank you. I really appreciate the kind words. And I want to apologize for the issue with the container. That's not the impression that we want to give on the neighborhood. We don't want our construction process.
Well, I hope you go out there and double check that street.
Yeah. And so this is the type of issue that, I'll be vigilant, for anything that would cause a disruption, like you saw on the phase 1 process, on phase 2. I also encourage you to, if there is something like this that you notice that is a blight, please contact me, either directly or through your community board office, and we'll work with you to fix it. So again, I'm sorry that happened, and we will try to do better this time.
Thank you, Sirio. Thank you, Joseph. Letitia?
Hi, I just, well, I had a couple of questions, but the first one, where is this going to be located at again?
It's at 2880 Jerome Avenue.
Is that in the Fordham Road section or the Bainbridge part? I mean, not Bainbridge, Kingsbridge Park section?
It's closer to Kingsbridge.
Okay. And then 2, well, it's not so much towards you guys. I guess it would be more so for the board, the members. Is the Bronx now the location for all of the homeless housing and things of that nature? Because I'm noticing, I am actually a resident of the Housing Connect building that went up, and I think that was probably because of the income that I have, how I got to be so lucky and got it so quick. But I do know that for some of the residents in the area, that's not the case. I know the young lady was saying something about, it's being unfair for the people that's homeless that have to go through, but there are actually people that are not on public assistance, things that are having a hard time at getting housing as well. And then I wanted the reason why I'm asking about the housing situation in regards to the homelessness is because isn't the 2 buildings that's being built now on 203rd and 202nd and Briggs also a building for homeless people that were previously homeless?
No, they're not. They're also a mix of income buildings. But just so you know, most buildings that receive HPD funding are required to have a certain percentage of homeless units in them. And they are, like Joseph explained and Katie explained, they are managed through DHS, not through the Housing Connect.
Not through the Housing Connect, okay. And now I brought this up before. I did notice that there is a school being built on Jerome between Kingsbridge and I want to say 198 by Walter High School. Is there any more schools that's going to be built or even maybe on top of some buildings? Because again, there's a lot of kids coming in here and the schools are already overcrowded. We don't have that many spaces. Is there anyone that's coming in to try to put in more schools?
That's something that the staff of the board is following up with, but we don't have an answer for that.
Okay. Oh, and then one question, I'm sorry. In regards to these types of facilities going, I know there was a big issue in regards to security and safety and things of that nature when the building was going up on Webster. Would it be the same type, of keeping people from hanging out off the street? Because I know on Valentine, There's a lot of buildings going up between 204th and 202nd, and there's just like every time you go around somewhere, it's a cop cars, I should say, because there's always something going on. Is there going to be any?
But I don't think that has to do with the buildings going up now. I think
No,
that's
not in
just
regards
a
to the buildings going up,
different.
but like once the buildings start to get, the tenants start to come in, there's a lot more hanging out. There's a lot more people sitting in the cars. There's a lot more garbage in the street. You know, there's a lot more crime happening, basically.
I can jump in if that's helpful, Eric.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know,
Sandra.
happy to take that conversation offline because it's going to be several years before this building is up. And I'm going to drop my information in the chat so you can email me, call me, anything you need. But let's definitely connect online because I hear you, and that is a big challenge that we have. School enrollment is actually down right now. A lot of people during the pandemic left. And so we can circle back on that school, but I will drop my information in the chat and happy to have a public safety conversation offline.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry,
But
one more. I
these
would
are-
like to see some houses for veterans because I do think they are kind of getting shortchanged on a lot of services. I'm not seeing much support for them at all when it comes to a lot of these things. So I would like to see some sort of housing set up for them as well, almost in the same kind of way where 60% veterans and, you know, the rest of the community and things of that nature, but that would be nice.
Yes, that would be nice, Letitia. That is a great segue to Ted to see from HPD to see if he has any updates. But I'm not sure if there's any. How does HPD handle those veteran housing at all?
There aren't, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm having computer problems today. There aren't many buildings that specifically try to target veterans, you know, particularly, I guess you're talking about homeless veterans. And truthfully, from what I'm told, that there's not nearly as many homeless veterans as I think people think. And so there aren't that many buildings that try. I mean, there are plenty of people who would be happy to do that. There's just not as great a need. If I can just maybe go back to like some of the discussion before, so that, you know, for in our supportive housing loan program buildings, which these project renewal buildings, and where the 60% of the units are for the formerly homeless, those people are generally from the shelter system referred by HRA. HRA does ask people where they would like to live, if they're being.
Did we lose Ted?
I think he lost voice.
I can finish that if he doesn't come back, but on people that are in the shelter system are asked what borough they would like to move to. So they do try to give them a preference. So that I think is what he was going to mention. And again, there is that income qualification needed. Some people in the shelter actually make more than 60% AMI, so it is a consideration. But the unit at HPD, DHS is wonderful. They really do some great work. So I wanted to give a plug for them because I am involved in that, and we do great work housing people. And all projects have a homeless set aside.
All right, thank you, Sandra. So if there are any other questions for Joseph and his project renewal team, I want to thank them for their presentation. And like I said, I hope to be in touch during construction to see where you guys are at. If there's any comments from the community, we'll definitely be reaching out to you guys.
Yes, Joe, come back and see us. Don't forget those meeting dates you mentioned in 2015 and 16.
Well, I'm actually
Okay.
on my own community board in Manhattan, so I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of community boards and happy to come back.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay, great.
thank you all. I appreciate the time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Oh, I think we
Thank
have
you.
Ted back. Hi, Ted.
He's on mute still.
Okay. Oh,
He
he's
should probably
connected.
come back there to him.
Ted, we lost you for a second. Do you have any other thoughts?
He's still on
Hi.
mute.
Yeah, no, I'm okay.
Oh, there he
What was
is.
the last
There
thing you
you
heard?
are. Well, I just mentioned that the people that are applying for housing through DHS do get to pick the borough they prefer. Yeah,
Right.
that's what I just added that in.
Right, yeah, that's one of the things I said when I was blocked out. Yes,
Yes.
and then I just explained after that, for the other 40% of the units in buildings like this, the general population, it goes through the Housing Connect, and it's all computerized, and it's very successful because people find it easy to do. So that's the good part. The bad part is, for a building with 100 units, you could get thousands of applications. But the computer pushes forward people who live in the zip codes in that community district.
Right.
And so that'll happen. And it doesn't open up to everybody else until it hits the 50% mark, the people who have been accepted for apartments.
That's a very good point, Ted. So people in the community board are really encouraged to apply. And I think the community board tries to do what they can to get the information out there once the lottery opens up for buildings in our district.
Absolutely. The more people from the district who apply, the more likely they'll get something. But again, years back when this was all done manually, there were times when some buildings in the Bronx could not hit the 50%. It just wasn't working right. Since it's computerized, our marketing people tell me every building hits the 50% community preference.
That's good to know, Ted. Thank you for that. So if there aren't any other questions or comments, Joseph and your team, thanks a lot again for coming and presenting, and good luck.
Thanks again. Good night.
Okay, good night.
Ted, I don't know if you have any other updates from HPD that you would like to share.
No, the only that there is a cluster of sites that scattered over several community districts. There's one site that's within your district. It's 2275 Loring Place. And this is a cluster that we've been working on. For transparency, I'll tell you, it's a team of JCal Development and Sandra Erickson Real Estate. They were the team that was selected for this. Only 3 of the sites required ULURP, not the ones in your district, because actually the one in your district is not city owned, so it doesn't require ULURP. But anyway, that whole cluster is moving along, and those sites that do require ULURP, we expect will be approved by the city council next month. So then at some point in the future, then the whole cluster of sites will be able to close. So again, this was just it was an infill cluster where it took a lot of small sites scattered around a good part of the Bronx. It covers 6 different community districts. And like I said, there's this one site that's in your district. And I know the development team at some point in the past did present to the committee.
Yes, we did.
Yes, we did. We did get a presentation and a preview from Sandra on the project.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you for all HPD does. Just as a side note, this lot of small sites includes a lot of home ownership opportunities. So it's been very exciting. They're not in Board 7, just this one small site in Board 7, but the community boards and the council and the city planning. Everyone's been very excited about it. The South Bronx has some of the lowest home ownership rates in the entire country. So we're very excited about that part too.
Right, and when developers do come to you to present, and I'll just repeat something I know I've said in the past. Anytime a developer wants to use HPD financing to build the new construction building, one of our financing programs, we require them to go to the community board to present. Even if it's the private site, the private land, we still, if they want financing. Now, if all they're using is a tax incentive program, they don't have to there, but some of them, they have to notify the community board. But if they're actually getting financing from our program, we require them to present to the community board. And if someone comes in and you think it's a good location for home ownership, by all means, encourage them to consider. We do have a home ownership program called Open Door. And they're difficult to sometimes to make financially feasible. But I'm a major advocate. I agree. The Bronx has one of the lowest homeownership rates in the country. And so as much as possible, we like to try to encourage more homeownership.
Yes, the community board also supports that homeownership is needed in the district as well. All right, well, thank you, Ted. If you don't have any other comments.
No, that's it for now.
Okay, great. Are there any representatives here from city planning?
Yes. Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes. Hi, Camila.
Hi, my name is Camila Thomas, and I'm the new board liaison for your board. Very happy to meet all of you, and I have loved so far the meeting. My first time going to a CB7 meeting, and I really like the energy and all the questions that you guys have brought. So nice to meet you all, and I'll be around.
Great, thank you. Any updates that as city planning that might affect our district at the moment?
No. As Sam mentioned, when I'm landing, we are working with the developer right now, but there are no big updates on it yet. So thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll hope to hear from you next month.
Yes, thank you so much.
Anybody from DOB? Anybody from CCHR? Anybody from the Bronx Chamber of Commerce? Okay, well, that pretty much concludes our agenda. Sandra already provided ERAP updates. And so if there's any other questions or comments, Serial?
Yes, I have something for the economic development section of our meeting. It's come to a great attention of Norwood and Bedford Park. A lot of these businesses are taking over public spaces. For instance, there's a tire company that they keep bringing it up at the police meetings that has 2 trucks in the streets with 10-foot high tires on top. They also took over the whole block that they're not even renting from, and they are not supposed to display by law, because I checked, that when they put out a display, it's only supposed to be 5 feet in front of the store, and then when they close, they're supposed to bring it back in. And now, due to the fact that we have permanent enclosures for restaurants, other stores are taking upon themselves to build permanent enclosures on the sidewalks. There's a fruit stand right outside the subway entrance on 205th and Bainbridge Avenue that built a structure there without a permit. There's also the fruit store that I mentioned before, way back in the summer. Golden Produce extends 8 feet out into the street in front of a tree pit. So one person at a time has to walk by their wares. Heaven forbid if you got a baby carriage or you're in a walker or you're in a wheelchair, you ain't getting by. And I repeatedly complain about that store and nothing is done. Now, the huge white truck that used to sit in front of the bank owner has rented a store on 207 Street down from St. Brendan's. They parked that same truck there with Jersey plates, put a teddy bear in the driver's seat, and never move it twice a week for street cleaning. Not only have they taken over the street, they also commandeered the bike rack to lock up their display platform that they put in front of the store. They chained it to theirs so the residents cannot use that bike rack. And they are renting a store. Who is enforcing regulations to protect the public from these predators that come to the community and try to take over? I go down Jerome Avenue and the fruit stands now take over parking spaces. They put milk crates in the streets and they put their displays on it. They take over the sidewalks. They take over everything. They're annexing this. I feel like Nazi Germany has taken over the business owners. They annex anything they can get their little hands on. And it's not fair to the community. And when you try to complain to somebody, you don't know who to call. And forget about calling 311. They ain't got a clue. Who's giving out these licenses to these stores?
So we are going to be arranging a meeting with the Department of Consumer Affairs, as it used to be called. I know they have a different name now. Who are the department who handles these businesses? We are aware of everything that you mentioned, Serial, and we have brought it up in sanitation meetings, in transportation meetings, in public safety meetings. So the staff has been working to get someone from that department that needs to handle that to one of our meetings.
Thank you for that. But I advise everybody that any store that's not a good neighbor should be boycotted.
So the board and the staff is actively working on that.
Chair, I see another hand up. AJ's hand is up.
Yes, go ahead, AJ.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Pursuant to Article 7, Section 2 of the CB7 bylaws, any written statement or document offered by a speaker shall be placed into the record or minutes of the hearing. I would like to and have submitted my statement and documents as such. Please confirm receipt now so a resubmission can be sent before the close of this meeting. I had originally sent it to Ms. Bravo, Carla, and Ms. Jade, but none of them responded. So if I could hear back from one of you guys, please, or email it over to you.
AJ, I saw your comment. What hearing are you which hearing is this about?
Today's and the one on the 14th.
Oh, you mentioned a hearing. This is a meeting. So I was confused. I didn't know if you were referring to a hearing that in the past or something.
Public section of this as well.
We'll follow up with the staff, what it is that you're referring to, AJ, and have them answer you back.
I just submitted a written statement and some documents to go with that. The bylaw says I can. I just never got confirmed receipt on that. So I just wanted to make sure it would be there. So it would be included in the minutes for this meeting. Thank you.
Okay. Letitia?
Hi, I'm sorry, I just had a question. What was that program called for the home ownership again? Was that called Open Door?
Open Door,
Yes,
yes.
it's Open Door.
Okay.
No. Open Door. Am I on? Yeah, Open Door is our home ownership program. It's where we finance development for like co-ops or small home ownerships.
Mm-hmm. So like small tenement buildings but owned by a one individual person as opposed to a corporation?
That's correct.
Okay. And how I was just going on the community board website to look that up.
I think that will be in the HPD website.
On the HPD, okay,
Yeah.
Yes.
all right, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? I see you, my boo. Will add you as president. All right, if there's any other questions or comments, Sandra, thanks very much for your help. And I guess, can we have
Our next meeting date, we should
yes.
announce.
Meeting date will be October 13, 2022. Well, I guess as of now, it'll be in person. But who knows, maybe tomorrow we'll get another response, right, Barbara?
Right, you never know.
And Chair, I would just like, we say discussions on next agenda, since Sam piqued our interest there and said in a few weeks we may hear more, Sam. So maybe we can kind of group those two together as like new substantial projects. So this way, with every meeting, if there's even a tidbit of information, I think we're all anxious to hear. So Sam
Yeah,
did indicate that maybe in a couple weeks. So let's leave those on the agenda for next month in case there is something new.
Yes, for sure. Any
Okay, I'll
other
make a motion
topics?
to adjourn.
Any other topics? And sorry, any other topics you guys think we should cover? We'll definitely try to work on with the Department of Consumer Affairs area too.
Good idea.
I hope so.
So now can we have a motion to adjourn?
You already had
Motion to adjourn.
And I second it.
Second.
Great.
Thanks,
All in
everyone.
favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Thank you, Eric.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.
How's the summer, Eric? Hi, Sandra. Hi, Barbara.
Summer has been busy.
I hope to
Yes.
see you soon.
Yeah,
In
summer
person,
was busy.
right? Okay.
Have you been busy, my boo-boo?
Yes. Yes, it's busy. I was on vacation. Tomorrow is my vacation is over today. So tomorrow I'm going back to
Okay.
see you around.
Good
All
night.
right.
Good night.
Good night. Good
Good night.
night.